You already know the feeling. The email that hasn't come back yet, the text left unread, the interview result you keep refreshing your inbox for. Somewhere in your chest, a small machine is running, calculating outcomes you have no power over. And every calculation costs you something. You didn't choose to build this machine. Almost no one taught you how to turn it off. And the strange part is, you've been building your entire emotional life around outcomes that were never yours to control in the first place. In the 1st century, a man named Epictetus began teaching something that should have been obvious, and wasn't. He had been enslaved for years before earning his freedom, and out of that specific experience came a strange kind of authority. He told his students that some things are within our power and some things are not. Not as poetry. As a diagnostic tool. Your body is not fully yours. Your reputation is not yours. Other people's opinions, the weather, the outcome of the job application, whether someone loves you back, none of it belongs to you. What belongs to you is smaller than you think, and also far more powerful than you've been told. Here's the part that unsettles people the first time they hear it. This isn't a comfort. It's a demand. It asks you to give up the very things you've spent your whole life trying to manage. You already do this calculation, every single day, without noticing. You rehearse conversations that haven't happened yet, adjusting your tone in advance for a reaction you're imagining. You check your phone not because you need information, but because not checking feels unbearable. Somewhere along the way, you started treating other people's choices as extensions of your own responsibility. Their silence became your failure. Their mood became your task. You built an entire identity on managing things that were never inside your hands to begin with. And you call this caring. You call this being responsible. What it actually is exhausting. But here's what nobody tells you about that exhaustion. It isn't a personality flaw. It's a category error, the same one Epictetus was correcting 2,000 years ago, in a room full of Roman students who thought caring more meant suffering more. There's a version of you that checks the phone 40 times an hour, refreshing something that will not change no matter how many times you look at it. This is what the Stoics called attaching your peace to an externally, to a thing outside the boundary of your own will. Epictetus draws the boundary in almost brutal simplicity. On one side, your judgments, your choices, your effort, your reactions. On the other side, everyone else's judgments, the outcome of events, the past, the future, the opinions of strangers who will never know your name. He says disturbance doesn't come from things themselves. It comes from the story you tell about them, the meaning you assign after the fact. This is where the paradox tightens. Because if disturbance comes from your judgment and not from the event, then the event was never really the problem. You were. Marcus Aurelius, an emperor with more external power than almost anyone alive in his century, spent his private journal reminding himself of exactly this, night after night, in a script no one else was meant to read. A man who commanded armies wrote to himself about the smallness of applause, the emptiness of praise, the uselessness of trying to control what other people think of you. If the most powerful man in Rome needed to remind himself of this daily, it wasn't a lesson for the weak. It was a lesson for anyone still confusing power over the world with power over the self. Aurelius draws a private line, alone in candlelight, between what a man commands and what commands him. And what commands him, he keeps admitting, is almost everything he hasn't yet learned to release. That's the ancient mirror. Now the reframe. You've been told that letting go means not caring. It doesn't. Letting go of the outcome is not the same as letting go of the effort. The dichotomy of control was never an invitation to stop trying. It was an invitation to stop suffering for things effort cannot reach. You can send the message with total sincerity and still have no claim on how it's received. You can walk into the interview fully prepared and still have zero ownership over their decision. The work is entirely yours. The result was never yours to begin with, and it never was, even on the days it felt like it. Picture two archers, standing at the same line. Both trained for years. Both draw the bow with identical form, identical breath, identical care. A gust of wind moves through at the exact moment of release. One arrow lands. One doesn't. The Stoics would say both archers did the same thing. The wind was never part of the archery. It only ever looked like it was. That's the trick. Not detachment, redirection. You stop asking whether the outcome went your way, and you start asking only whether your effort was aligned with what you actually control. The disappointment doesn't disappear because you stopped feeling. It disappears because you stopped placing your identity somewhere. It was never safe to place it. I used to think being a good person meant absorbing responsibility for how other people felt around me. Their silence, I made mine. Their disappointment, I made mine. It took years to notice that I was drowning in outcomes I never had jurisdiction over, and calling the drowning devotion. What changed wasn't that I cared less. It's that I finally located where my caring was actually allowed to live, which was in the effort, the intention, the honesty of the attempt, and nowhere else. That's not indifference. Indifference would be easier. This is precision. It's choosing, again and again, to withdraw your peace from a courtroom that was never yours to stand trial in. Some days you'll still refresh the phone. Some days you'll still calculate what someone else might be thinking. That isn't failure. It's just proof you're human, running an old program that took a lifetime to install. The work isn't perfection. It's noticing the moment you've handed your peace to something outside the line, and gently, without punishment, taking it back. So the next time something doesn't go the way you hoped, ask yourself only one question. Was the effort yours? If it was, you already won the only game that was ever actually being played. Epictetus put it simpler than any of us ever will. It isn't things that disturb us, but our opinion about things.